Hello, everybody. I think I'm here.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I
Hello,
Hello.
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 I messaged you that out of nowhere within the last few hours, I got so stuffy and like I can't stop blowing my nose, and I probably sound like totally different. Like I can't breathe. It's
Oh
like
my God, I'm so
literally since
sorry.
in the last few hours, but
Yeah, I
but I'm
don't
here.
know. I'm not getting any DMs. It's my understanding that like DMs are not working.
Oh, they're
Maybe
still
your
not.
band?
They were saying they weren't going through earlier, but they're not saying that anymore. Like it says that it was sent, the one I just sent, but earlier I could not send any messages. So I don't know. You didn't get it?
Yeah, I can't see on my computer. I can't, but on my cell phone, my DMs are working.
Well, yeah, that was a close call. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, and if you need to jump off at any time, feel
Yeah,
free
yeah,
to.
no, I'm okay. I'm
But
just
you
not
sound
my 100% self whatsoever right now. So
No worries. But yeah, close call. Almost thought Twitter was going to burn down tonight. But I'm glad that we were able to still have the show. But yeah, we'll just give it a minute. We are missing one person, but thank you everybody for coming. Slava, Crypt King, JMW, and of course, my co host Val. How's it going, Val?
Hello, everyone. Good night. I'm super happy to be here. I'm super excited. I have a bunch of things I want to share, so let's get hype and let's just have fun.
Good. Yeah. I'm interested to talk more about AI and what everybody is doing with it to make our lives easier.
yeah, no, I actually could not come because I did do some significant digging into some things over the last few hours as well. Bing being one of them. Oh my God, it's amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
I retweeted that video on the Crypto Coffee account of the Bing and Chat GPT integration. That looks so cool. Like, and I've been one that I never go to Bing. I think I've gone to Bing and I hit Google. Like, I search for Google and Bing, but yeah,
Yes,
that integration is
it's not even just
awesome.
that though. Like if it was just that Chat GPT, it's like whatever. Like it's not super impressive. Like it's not just Chat GPT. No, no. It is something totally different. A new it's a new monster, not in a bad way necessarily. Content creation up the wazoo. Like it is highly focused on content creation,
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah,
including the
I think we
apps
have.
that
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, no, I was just saying include like the apps, but go ahead. You can
No, I
mention.
was just going to say, I think we have everybody here, and I think we can go ahead and get started. Matt, what's up? I see Swole's here as well, so looking forward to chatting with everybody. What's going on, guys?
What's up, Jess?
What up?
Jess almost didn't make it to this space, guys. She was debating on whether or not she wanted to come to this space.
That
So
is
it's a
a
question.
lie. Yeah, I was actually excited about this space. I was doing some research ahead of time too, so gonna be interesting to see. But yeah, I guess we'll kick it off. Instead of doing like the normal introductions, I'm just gonna like pass it off. Like maybe Val, we'll kick it off with you. What have you used this week? I know you're a content creator. You've been creating podcasts and things like that. So how have you integrated AI into your week to create content or manage your content? Like what have you been doing and using?
Well, actually, yes. I discovered this tool that is like, I just put I think I'm gonna post it here. I just did it before getting into this space. It's an app that I just discovered, and I'm gonna put the last the last picture because it's really funny with a friendly reminder. But you can read all the threads. So this tool it's called Predis. It was just released in the market, and is crazy because it integrates, like, it's like using Canva, Copy AI, and Buffer. So it has planning, content creation, and design in the same app. So basically, I was like trying it and doing it, and you can see in the thread, it does everything. It's just like crazy. You have like a board with everything, and it can create captions. It actually includes like the most important keywords. So actually, it does SEO too, and it gives you like a competitor analysis in the app. They have like a free try app now, and they have different plans with different. But it was like crazy. And also, I've been using Notion. I was using it this week.
Oh, that was my next
Yeah,
app. But go ahead, speak on it.
because for because for Notion, it's like Notion is my life. Actually, it's my life, and I was literally writing my podcast episode. I use Notion to do that, and it came with an option like, "Hey, we integrated AI," and I was like, "No, no, 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 wait." So yeah, I've been using that, and it's just amazing. Yes, it's been amazing how it's helping me to like I have a social media manager that supports me, but in order like to create that captions, everything, and also this Predis app that I said, it allows you to modify like Predis on images, right? Because it generates the art, but you can upload your images or your videos, and you can include it into the art and change colors. So I fully recommend it. It's been changing the way I see the world. And I said it in my post. Don't be stupid. If you use it, AI is your friend. That's it. That's a wrap.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like how all the apps are integrating AI. I'm a huge Canvas user. Like I love Canvas. I'm a Canvas junkie. And now they have like AI integrated into it. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see that. Go ahead, Matt. What's up?
So to expand on what Val was saying about Notion, if you haven't used Notion, guys, you want to try Notion. Notion is like, it started off as a task planner app. You could, write little templates, and then they introduced the AI integrated. I had the option. I was actually on the beta, so I was using it since the beta, and then the full version came out. The AI on Notion is scary, like downright scary. How good it is. So if you guys ever see me go on a tweet storm now, it's because like I go into Notion, and then I was like, let's say I want to talk about like backstabbing Web3 holes or something, whatever. I'll type that into Notion as the topic, and it will literally write. I'll say write a blog about backstabbing, whatever, and then it'll literally write an entire blog right there, and I'll take excerpts from it, and I'll copy and paste, and I'll tweet it out. Now, for social media content creation, let's say I want to write, I don't know, I want to plan out what I want to do for a template or for a script. I'll go write a script. I want to email a company for a sales pitch or whatever for collaboration. I'll go into Notion and I'll say write an email. It'll do this in front of you at a push of a button, like literally a click. And if it's something like you already wrote, so let's say let's say I went into Notion and I say I like Val's shoes, and I all wrote. I can copy and paste it out and send
Oh, you're breaking
Mad,
up.
You're rugging.
You need your
Mad,
your
you're
AI
bugging.
to replace you while you're rugging.
You're definitely roboted out.
I think that's a good point. Like, just you guys talk, like, nobody has brought up Chat GPT, and that's like, the go to right now. But really, like, the data what you get back from Chat GPT, like, you really have to massage it to make it your own because it's not good. Like, you have to, like, use something else. I don't know. But let me kick it over to Slava next. Slava, I'll go to you next. What about you? Like, I know you work with different brands and things like that. How do you integrate AI into your into brand marketing, or what are you doing these days in that regards?
Yeah, thanks, Jess. I run an AI agency, and a lot of our clients are looking at how they can use AI in their workflows. There are two major adoption that we see for AI, especially content creation, especially text driven content creation. First is creative copywriting, and that's where GPT-3 and some of others may be familiar with as ChatGPT are very well they're exceeding the expectations of many companies, many individuals, many teams. GPT-3 being essentially a stronger version of ChatGPT. It has less safeguards. It has better code completion, text completion, and everything else. ChatGPT is really just a convenient wrapper on top of GPT-3. And the second use case that we see beyond creative use case is the real-time use case. And we see that because ChatGPT was trained up to 2021, and that offers great sort of holistic understanding of the world up until 2021. So the question then becomes, how do you deal with a newer sort of circumstance where a company wants to, for example, talk about the latest Super Bowl and kind of amplify their marketing campaigns aligned with 2023? That's where GPT-3, that's where ChatGPT fails, unfortunately. However, there are alternatives out there. I'll mention two, and then one is already public, one is being tested. The first being Perplexity. The domain is perplexity.ai. It's a great tool that actually, fun fact, Jess, they're using Bing and they're combining Bing with GPT-3 to give you real-time AI generated content. So why is that useful? It's because if you're a brand and you are following the news, if you're following trends, if you're following the latest sort of developments in the space, you must use fact-checking AIs. You must use AIs that are real-time, and Perplexity AI is a great solution for that. The second resource I'll share, and I don't want to sort of go too much into that, but it is being tested on, so keep that in mind, is a platform called Copy.ai. And I listened to their latest webinar, and they are in testing, and don't quote me on this, in testing of their new product called Chat. And what they claim is a stronger GPT-3 competitor. Again, they do fact-checking, they do real-time AI-generated content. The project is expected, or rather the feature is expected to go live next week. Again, don't quote me on that. I did just kind of listen to the Copy.ai team, but I've been a big fan of Copy.ai. For those who are not familiar, it is a GPT-3 fine-tuned solution. So if you're not sort of seeing what you're expecting from either ChatGPT or GPT-3, I highly encourage you to check out Copy.ai and their latest feature called Chat.
That's awesome. And I have a question for you. Yeah, I actually like Copy.ai. I've used like a combination of both, like ChatGPT and then put it in Copy.ai to like soften the tones and so forth. Do brands care that the content is AI created? So for example, like I put up, just for my pod, like I create like pictures of coffee and shit as branding content. Do brands care that it's AI created versus by somebody?
Yeah, brands don't care. They do want to do a final sort of round of revision or inspection before content goes out. This is the current state of mind. However, there is one major player that does care, and that is Google. Google used to care much more so last year. They've recently changed their position on essentially AI generated content for SEO purposes. They don't want you to use purely AI generated content because at that moment, you're essentially creating a free-for-all circumstance, but they do allow it and they do have guidelines. I'm happy to share those guidelines for anyone who's interested.
Great points. Thank you.
Can I just interrupt really quick? I'm keeping track of all these resources. FYI, I can send it to you after. I can be useful in that way. I'm just writing down all the different.
Yeah, I'm pinning. So active. I'm pinning up every time someone says something new. For example, Slava was talking about Perplexity AI, and I put it up so you have the official Twitter account. And if you just keep seeing what I've posted, I also post some things about ChatGPT and Notion AI. It's also there, and the tool I'm telling is Predis. I think they don't have a Twitter. I was trying to find them, but I have the thread and I have the link there, so everything is there.
Yeah, it just gets crowded after a while. I can imagine however long this goes on, there's going to be like 100 things pinned up there. So yeah.
All right, guys, I'm back. I dropped calls. I'm sorry.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I just got so excited about Notion. I was pissed when the call dropped. All right. The last point I just want to add is they have a mobile app that integrates with their web app. So whatever changes you make on the mobile app would make changes on the web app. So it happens in real time. So you could, use Notion on the go, which I do all the time, and then I'll come home and actually type my stuff on my laptop or whatever. But yeah, it's a great app. I recommend it, and I think Val figured out to the top already.
Great.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. That's great. I think it's just amazing how many things. I think it's also overwhelming, Jess, and I don't know what you think about it. I just think we have to be really strategic when we are actually deciding what we're going to use, because I don't think we want to use many things. We have to do research for it, and that's what I tell people. It's good to try, but at the end, it's good to have 2 or 3. For example, like I say, Predis integrates what a copy does, what ChatGPT does, and what Canva do. So it's a tool. You have 1 and you have 3 different things you can use. So I think it's interesting to do more research about the ideal for you, because what maybe works for me is not necessarily useful for you. I don't know if you want to say something, but I would like. I think Cowboy is here, so I'd like to welcome you and
But that's exactly what I think. Gathering all the resources is super, super important, because exactly that reason. Not everything works for everybody. What works for you might not work for me. So
No, yeah, and I also had to say that it's also the cost of all these apps too. A lot of them, there's a cost to them, so you're going to end up with 20 subscription plans that with 20 different apps. So it's definitely good to try to find one that solves multiple problems. But really quick, before we go to Cowboy, because I'm not sure, Cowboy, your tweets are protected, I'm going to go to one of the guests that I invited. So Crypt King, you own a media company and are also an artist that's using AI as a tool. So tell us a little bit about what you're using and what has worked and what hasn't.
Yeah, definitely, and thank you for having me. And hope everyone's all right. Yeah, so in the Web 2 world, I also work for a Fortune 500 company that specializes in automotive algorithm writing for large loans and stuff. So we're using ChatGPT. I use it for. I have I manage a staff of 300 people. So I have to do a lot of and annual reports, different things like that. So I'm using it to do scripts for me that I can do based off of different how long they've been with the company and their different let's say knowledge base. So I was able to do a lot of scripts with that. I'm able to mathematics. That's what I like a lot about ChatGPT is the mathematics. It does well. I've tested it on small accounting formulas. It's worked well with that. I use it in so some of the articles that I write, I use it, but I'm very careful with only using it as grabbing facts and then double checking and sourcing out that. So I make sure on that because I know about the 2001 I make sure that everything is just first of all I want it to be a tool that adds to what I do. I don't want it to take over. So I just let it give me a breakdown of some of the factual stuff, and then whatever I want to grab out of it, I'm still going to go and source check that and everything. And then yes, I use Midjourney as well, but the Midjourney, if you look at my art, I do a lot of heavy seed stacking and things that kind of and I don't use other artists'
Wait,
names
what's
inside my.
heavy seed stacking? What is
So that would be I would take let's say I have my own picture, and then I would take that picture and feed it in, and then I might even take two pictures and feed that into Midjourney, let them start to build some depth with my work itself, and then from there I can build prompts on top of it. I'm very, very bullish on prompt engineers in the future having a place in the space. But I also believe we have a lot of ethical things that we need to talk about. I believe that we can tie a lot of the right click save PFP culture to this as well. So, yeah, I'm excited about everything, and I believe it's coming 100 miles an hour. I am nervous about, like you said, the kind of disparities towards the bottom, like people that might not have a lot of money. Can they afford this? Will that then again set a barrier between the rich or the less, fortunate? And I don't like that. But yeah, I'm excited as far as how it can make us productive. And I hope that in the long run, what it does is that the time that we save and become more efficient with this, we use that to hopefully make a better life for ourselves.
That's awesome. One question that I have for you. I know there's like a bunch of different platforms to use. Why did you pick Midjourney? Like, what do you think it offers that other platforms don't offer?
So at first, Midjourney, well, Victoria, you see in the crowd, she's like a badass, world famous photographer. So number one was she taught me, and it was very like convenient. So maybe I was stuck to it because it was the first thing I was exposed to. But then I like it because I was able to set it up in a way like my own Discord, private settings, blah blah blah, all these things. And once I started learning how to get deep into it, where I was like building my own signatures, I'm a big fan of learning one thing, learning it real well, and then kind of moving on rather than like, I believe like if you learn 50 things, you're not learning anything at all. But if you learn one thing real good, then you can become like as close to an expert as that and then absorb something else. And so for me, luck of the draw, I was exposed to it first.
I've heard everybody seems to be drawn to Midjourney. That's why I'm asking. And I'm not. I hate Discord. Like really, really hate it. I try not to go in there, and that's the only reason why I haven't signed up. But I'm probably gonna go back in Discord and sign up and do this. Go ahead, active, and then Matt, and then we'll circle back to Swole.
No, I just wanted to speak to Crypt King's comment about having to cross reference things himself and whatnot, and that's exactly what Bing has just solved with Chat GPT and that whole integration. It's like everything is right there now. If you watch the video presentation of the from yesterday, it's on YouTube. It gives a really good, demonstration of different ways that you can use it and how it's different than just searching Google for a topic or whatever. And it gives you all of it's like the explainable AI. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but I think it's like an early explainable AI. So I don't think you shouldn't have to cross reference manually
Go ahead,
on your
Matt.
own.
If you guys want to chime in, feel free to chime in. Go ahead,
Oh
Matt.
yeah. So Crip King said something that I was gonna speak about. So I'm a very transparent person. I like to keep it real with people. My creative writing has kind of went down a little because it's so easy to just have the AI do all the work. Like I used to sit there and write like full length articles on Medium, like from my creative juices in my head, and those juices have dried up. Not totally, but I do sometimes wonder, like, man, like if I didn't have Notion AI. Oh, another thing, Grammarly. Grammarly is another thing I use a lot. I pay a yearly subscription for it, and with Grammarly, like, so I'll write something freehand, right? I'll go to Grammarly, paste it on Grammarly. Grammarly will fix it up, punctuations, make it nice and neat. And then if it looks a little too robotic, I'll take it and then copy and paste it to Notion. And then I'll tell Notion, improve this writing. And then instead of me writing, hey, I was riding a skateboard, Notion will come out and say, I was riding down a four-wheeled, man-made obstacle, and it just literally, and I could take that and then
30
copy.
minutes later, three
Yo,
apps later, you came out with that.
exactly,
Are we
exactly.
overcomplicating our lives with all
Oh
this?
man.
Like,
But yeah, the end result is honestly always beautiful, and it's like, am I too reliant on it? I think sometimes we do sit back and be like, man, could I have done this myself if I gave it a little bit more thought? Probably yes, but everybody's pressed for time. You just
It's not as fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Can confirm it dumbs you down.
Val, go ahead, and then we'll go to our last guest, so who's been patiently waiting. Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, I think it's, Matt, yeah, I think I've been into that process too. But I think that's the real challenge. Every time someone said that AI, it's gonna like steal everybody's job and whatever, I particularly think that my challenge, like being a creator, is always keep myself authentic over who I am, despite what I'm using. Like, I think crypto say it like, you're gonna do it and you're gonna use it as like an assistant, but at the end you have to check, and you have to check if it's correct, the information you're having there, if it's correct according to what you want to communicate as your brand voice and your values, and why your community follows you is because they believe in who you are and what you are communicating to them. And despite you can use AI to make your job easier, because I think that when you're a content creator, you have like this one person business model in your head, and you have like a monopoly of everything you're doing, and it's great. But again, I think authenticity is the most important thing, and keep yourself loyal to that, because what that thing people say, like, people's gonna know. And they're gonna know, like, they're gonna know when it's not you, because they've been following you from a lot. And anyways, we already automatize like a lot of things we're doing. And I want to close with another thing before, and it's, I pinned something up. Now we're talking about art, which is I love, and I've been following. I went to the MoMA like 3 weeks ago, and there's this exposition there. It's a Turkish artist. It's amazing what he did. He has two exposition, one in I think it's in Copenhagen, and he's gathering meteorological information from the surrounding area and translated that into mesmerizing visualizations via learning algorithms. And the one he had in MoMA, it's great, because basically what he did is he gathered information from almost 200,000 contemporary works, like from Van Gogh to surrealist painting to Salvador Dali to architecture in the MoMA, and he created this that I pinned it. It's just dope. And it's integrated psychology and how the brain works to extract data. And the question that I was reading in this article that I love is like, can machine create dreams? So, just evaluating that from 2015, when Alexander Mordves created Deep Dream, which is it was a computer. And now we're seeing I just think it's great, and artists can really use AI to make dope things. Like, I can tell you, this landscape was huge, and you can literally stare for hours, and it's a genuine piece of art.
He is awesome. I've been telling people about him for years. Like, he's been doing this for so long. He's definitely a pioneer of that space. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, Swole, welcome. I know that you've been working with AI to create art, and you started a project. Disclaimer, I do have one of your pieces because I love them. I think they're super cute. Very cool. But yeah, what have you been, how did you end up doing AI, and what made you come up with the project? And yeah, maybe tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
Definitely. It's so funny because a lot of people are using it to be very productive in their like daily professional lives, and I just do it to disrupt shit mostly. Like, I made a piece the other day. I made it with AI, and it was a billboard, and I had my friend Drip Bits, he's like a graffiti artist, do graffiti over it, and it said AI art ain't art. But it was made with AI. The point is, like, I wasn't saying that AI art isn't art, but more so it's subjective, and I'm not the one here to decide whether it is or isn't. So it was really funny. I did that. I'm dropping a Swole Cult token tonight. But I made the description with Chat GPT. So everyone's using like Chat GPT for like I guess more information. I just did it to kind of troll, but the cult's been around for almost a year now at this point. But yeah, I've been using AI for over a year. I started with like VQGAN and like Google Colab. Then I went to Dolly, and then now primarily using Midjourney for like art creation. And then the one that you had mentioned is called Children of the Metaverse. So what that is, it is a kind of how it sounds. It's just a bunch of like children style PFPs. A lot of what I focus in is like more so realism, and it's creating like a world of where there's like no parents, there's no adults, like there's just the children. And a portion of the proceeds of this goes towards Energy Exchange, which is a give back project that I founded with a friend of mine. And we just helped build out a storefront for a local community over in Lombok, which is an island over in Indonesia. That way, the community doesn't have to be on the streets selling bracelets and blankets and sarongs and batiks and stuff like that. And now they have an actual storefront to support their families. We don't make any income from the store. 100% of the income goes straight back into the pockets of the children and their families who are running that. But yeah, so that's what Children of the Metaverse is, and kind of how it plays into like the give back side of things. And a lot of what we've done with Energy Exchange also has helped like different orphanages over in Bali. We've done food drives. I guess you can call it a food drive for like communities in Kuta, which is like more of like impoverished areas or underserved communities in Bali as well. So that's kind of how we've integrated that within there. But yeah, that's a short whim of
And
my
what are you
AI journey.
using to create? What tools are you using to create the art?
For Children of the Metaverse, I used Midjourney, and a lot of which at least for me, once I kind of dialed down a style that I had liked, which took a while, was more of like the realism side of things. And then once I figured that out and got enough detail in it, it was pretty simple as far as like just changing the beginning prompts, because that's what's going to change like the image in terms of like what the kids are wearing, what the emotions they have, the color of their skin, their ethnicity, like are they smiling, are they sad, are they angry? Yeah, so that's kind of primarily using Midjourney now, because that's really the only one I've found that has worked for me, that has been able to give me a more realist look. Like I've even used like Nouns AI, like the Nouns DAO community has made their own AI, but it's still too washy, I guess. And that's kind of what my issue was with Google Colab. Like I did a lot of like abstract pieces when I first started doing those. But it was hard for me at least to get a lot of like the realism images that I was trying to get that didn't look distorted.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, great to see. AI just being used for a good cause. I know we lost Val. Val, leave and come back. You're rugged. But last but not least, JMW, what's going on? I know you've been deep into AI. Like, what are you seeing that you think is going to be the game changer, or what tools do you think are going to be the next game changer in AI?
Well, I think this ties into what you just asked. I wanted to touch on the whole issue of access and, disparities and like low income and things like that. I mean, what I'm seeing is that like the baseline tools for AI, Chat GPT, art, videos are free. They're actually accessible to those people. And so if we're talking about mass adoption of AI and those things being free, I just think this is huge that now that they integrated it into, web and it's real time information. I mean, this is freaking huge. This is huge. Everybody now has access. There isn't a paywall for the baseline technology. And so, how many of those people would need the next level of technology? How many people are really doing something with that is another question to be determined. But hopefully that makes sense. So I think for mass adoption purposes, we're highly specialized, whether we like whether we want to believe that or not, like we're special being here in this space and talking about all these details. And most people won't know them, so I think mass adoption will come from making those tools, at least at the baseline, accessible, which it feels like, they are here. So it's just going to explode, I believe.
Can I just
JW is
say?
so excited about it. She's emotional.
Yeah. Well, can I just say, like,
no, I have a cold.
Well, what worries me is
I know.
there's a couple things that worry me is like privatization of it, and then profit from there. They try to squeeze profiteering off of it, and then also like the fact that this does have to be accessed in certain ways that, like, if you look at the lowest demographic, they might not have access to it. So like there are things that do worry me about it, but yeah, I'm excited as well as far as like, disabilities and like so many different things this is going to open up. But also there is a level where I'm like, oh, I just see like these private companies coming in and trying to like definitely make it hard as possible for it to be free access in the future, possibly.
I mean, yeah, we know there's, and I don't know if maybe, Flava, you want to touch on this. Like, why is it only until 2021? Is that just because of the current version, or where is the restriction in place for Chat GPT?
But this is what I'm trying to reiterate, is that that restriction is essentially removed with Bing feeding its information, the same as ChatGPT, live. So that barrier is gone.
Go ahead, Slava.
Yeah, I think it's important to reflect on the fact that in order to train these models to get to the level of standard or accuracy people are seeing today, you need to spend millions of dollars. And so this is one of the biggest roadblocks to essentially training with more data. You need to spend more money. So there was a reason it was conscious to train up to 2021. And that prevented the OpenAI team, which has a very deep partnership with Microsoft, to overspend. At the same time, as you notice from at least the OpenAI's perspective, they were very quick to the market. So they didn't want to overspend. They were thinking like a startup. They wanted to release and get feedback as quickly as possible. And now, thanks to their latest, for example, partnership with Microsoft, they are now allowing anyone, whether you're a creator or developer, to access ChatGPT using an API through Microsoft Azure, and more recently with this latest partnership through Microsoft with, I think it was Active who mentioned it, that came out a day or two ago.
That's awesome. Thank you for clarifying that. Val, I know you got rugged and you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I can't make you co-host. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. It's life. Life's against us. Yeah, I think it's very, very interesting to take in considerations the limitation that we will have during the way. But I think at the end we have to, take in consideration that it's business, at the end, and everyone is worried about how accessible it's going to be. But we have to remember that every project, especially like if it's regarding technology and whatever, they have like this experimental phase, which is literally about testing and gathering information and see how people react and everything. So I think it's important to just keep ourselves open to the fact that eventually these platforms are businesses, and they should have or know how to eventually get income from everything that they're doing. It's just, I think, it's the normal process and how these things work. It's not just the first time. If you see this as a business from different perspective, that eventually you will have to charge for your product or whatever. I think that's what I wanted to say about it, because it's more like, it's just be smart about someone that, okay, it's good to be someone that uses this, but you also have to put yourself in the shoes of a business persona and how I'm gonna, make these sustainable over time.
No, I think that's a great point. I'll go to the hands right quick, but like that one AI video tool that I was playing around with, Synthesia, Like that's been around for a while, and Fortune 500 companies have been using those videos to create like training materials and things like that. It just wasn't accessible to the public. So now these tools are accessible from the public. And if you think about it from a business perspective, would you rather hire a trainer as a Fortune 500 company? Would you rather hire a full-time employee to do training videos or pay $50 a month for an AI tool to do it for you? So the cost benefit ratio, I think, definitely outweighs. All right, Sol, and then Leo, and then Breeze and Matt, and yeah, we'll get through everybody.
So, what are you guys' opinions or thought on like a coded bias within the current AI systems, or the amount of centralization behind them? Like you guys know, Midjourney won't allow you to use certain words, like even like blood or gore. I've seen times where there's been polarizing political prompts of through ChatGPT that will answer one prompt, but worded the same exact way, just with a different name. It won't give you a prompt saying that it's against the guidelines and stuff like that. So how do you guys think that plays into a role of, especially if you're using this for content creation or for biz development, like how important that is, with the decentralization of it or the usability of it in this case, or even creative freedom?
I'll let anybody chime in, whoever wants to chime in.
Well, I was just gonna say that that's the question I ask myself, right? When we're doing this, I ask myself, like, weigh this versus decentralization, like, and where does it fall into? So, and that's where I'm nervous about, because it's like, okay, can we find something to fork it that way? It's not like owned this way, but like I'm also a decentralized maxi in a sense, so I always have to check myself also.
No, I just, what I wanted to add, if nobody else wants to chime in, I think you have to I think there's still some responsibility to kind of validate the data that it outputs. And whatever you put out there is still going to be a representation of you, right? Like I've used ChatGPT to try to write like blockchain technical content. And sometimes what it spits out, I'm like, hey, this is not right. Like so I think as a content creator or as a business, like you still have the responsibility to validate that whatever's being put out is actually factual and it makes sense to you. That's my personal opinion.
Even more so on a creative side. Like, for example, have you guys seen the movie called Coded Bias on Netflix? It was basically about a creator who was making some sort of like AR or VR tech that would overlay the image of an animal on her face. Well, she was an African American woman, and she realized that it wouldn't pick up her face, like the code that was being made. But when she put on a white mask, it did. So there was like coded bias within how it was coded, that the images that it used as a reference points for their faces wasn't picking up her face because it wasn't into like the data sets that had been implemented by the developers of that thing, which obviously would far extend past what she was doing, but more so even on art creation as well. Like a lot of the issues that I came up with when creating Children of the Metaverse was they were creating all like white kids. And if you look in my collection, there's tons of different ethnicities, skin colors, eye shapes, nose shapes, like all of that, because I had to like specifically add that into it. Otherwise, it would just pop out white kids all day long.
Wow. So what you're saying is, no, I'm not even going to go there, but Leo,
racist, racist AI. But there's about 4 or 5 things, like it just needs to stay with it. I think for instance, what Crypto King does with his art, for instance, Nancy Stefano, I love the art that they,
love her art.
yeah,
Something for her, yeah.
It's crazy, just because I try to do it, I'm just not good at it yet, But as far as like, Johnny, we tried it out yesterday. That shit was crazy. I never in a million years would have thought we would be in a space talking about, doing a bar exam, for instance, and that shit was cool as hell. And the other one was like, I actually, don't judge me, but I spoke with Leah, that AI on Twitter, and I didn't realize you can actually go to her page and talk to her, but she catfished me. I think she was trying to catfish me. But that's where it gets scary, because
wait, what AI on Twitter?
there's something LIA. She's an AI on Twitter, and she posts and she does her thing. She's like Shirley, but she's talking. You know, it's the craziest shit I've ever seen. But it's pretty cool. But I'm like, I'm done with it. She lied to me, you know. And then with Val, I think she had what was it, Notion AI yesterday, and that's like a whole unique, different like versus Chat GPT, because that's more of a for businesses and stuff. And I looked at it more, and I'm like, man, there's so much crap you can do with it. But as long as it stays with that, like things that can help us in life and stuff like that, I think it'll be cool. But when it gets to like into military and all that stuff, that's where the scary part comes in for me.
Great points. And yeah, and I invited Johnny up. We'll get to him now. He was practicing for his bar exam and testing out Chat GPT. So that was definitely fun. But Breeze, you've had your hand up. Welcome. What's up?
Yeah, I was just well, a couple minutes ago. It seemed fitting on the topic of discussion, but I ran into this last night and I pinned it up at the top. Hopefully you don't mind, but I think this text to 360 view AI software, whatever you want to call it at the moment. I think that has a lot of potential right now. It's still in the works. And I'd never heard about it until last night, so might be new to the rest of the folks here. But I think that once it's out of beta, it's going to be pretty unique with what it's going to be able to offer in the art scene, definitely. But I mean, because I have a bunch of landscapes that I would just love to run through this 360 world. But yeah, I just wanted to add that useful tool for those that weren't aware of it.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, one that I found useful, like I saw one today. I know, Val, you started doing YouTube. Well, there's one that will transcribe and summarize your YouTube. So it'll create like a summary of what you talked about on your YouTube. So I think like those are the types of things that can help us and not replace us. Like you still have to provide the content.
Yes.
To distribute it on multiple platforms.
It's 100% like that. At the end, I think it's about how you integrate that in your workflow. That's what I always think about it. And it's just like, it's just going to save me time. And also it's going to be part of my workflow. But it's not going to replace the way I do my work. And that's the main thing of what you're doing this. And I think there's a lot of misinformation about it. And what we should be telling to content creators or anyone that is actually doing this and opening and the platform like their content is that you need a workflow, right? You need to settle a strategy and how you're going to record, produce, post, doing captions, using keywords. Even the way you write your title can actually bring people to see your video more or less according to the platform you are using. And the way you use hashtags on Twitter, it's totally different and opposite than the way you use it on YouTube and Instagram. So the more we can see these as part of the workflow and just literally a tool, the more we can leverage how are we using it and how are we communicating that AI at the end. It's something that came just to make it easier for us, but in any way, and I'll say it again, in any way, it will replace us. They haven't replaced our brain yet. And they've been trying to do this for years. So I think we're safe for a couple more years. And I always like to think about this, Jess, and I don't know what you think about it. It's like we as humans need to be more competitive. Every time we need to like raise our standards as humans. It's like, how can we use this to not replace us? And I think that's the challenge, authenticity and that it's also a thing that will never take away, like AI or technology will never take away for us, or not for now. So that's it. I think that's it. The most important thing.
Can I just say, one of the things, like, so about 8 years ago, my company let go of like 100 people because of algorithm upgrades that we started to cut and slash. But this year we hired 4,000 people because of a lot of efficiencies that it actually created job opportunities. So I think what will happen is we'll see a little dip, but then it will create things that will actually need more, more human touch. So like I think we might see a dip, but later on we'll see a more influx of hiring that might be needed.
Do you think that was lower level jobs and now these other jobs are higher
Yes.
level?
Yes, and a lot of those lower level people actually got bumped up because they already had pre-existing experience. So like it was, and I think that's what's going to happen. I've never been worried about and I wanted to say about ChatGPT, if you've been talking to it long enough, you start to realize it's a reflection of yourself in a sense. And then what it does, it's like a circle. It's a reflection of yourself. Then it scrapes and it gets, and it fills in the blanks. And then eventually, so every once in a while, you got to slap the hand when you're talking to it because it'll get off base. And you got to like, okay, we're talking about this right now. So yeah, it's fun when you start to understand how to have it work for you, not like working for it in a sense.
Yeah, those are all great points. I did want to go to Johnny real quick. And while I was looking at different apps, I did see there is an AI lawyer app. Johnny, you were afraid of being replaced by an AI lawyer, and it looks like there's a site for that. But
no, there is.
You've been using
You gotta stop charging $400 an hour.
You've been using ChatGPT to practice for your bar exam. We were a part of that yesterday. How is it panning out? Is it passing or not? I fell asleep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I use it. I use it to write briefs all the time. I wrote a brief the other day where I collect all the facts. This is a prisoner's rights case. This guy had been beaten in prison and then retaliated against. I had a call with him. I collected all of his story, his facts, and I'm putting it into this complaint. And there are persuasive ways to write using like the active voice, the way you refer to people that like is scientifically more persuasive. And I can put those facts into ChatGPT and say, hey, use the active voice, use this whenever you see this. And of course, you got to read back through it. But that's far more effective legal writing than like a 30-year attorney, right? And I'm just coming out of law school. The problem you run into in the legal world is there will always be lawyers. Like you won't be able to just pop up an app and ask it what you should do and have it write you in a complaint, because if you mess up, who are you going to sue? Like lawyers, you can sue a lawyer if they have malpractice, right? And that's a big issue here, like liability for these companies. Like one point I was going to raise, it kind of shifts the conversation a little bit, but these AI companies eventually will probably have to register their AI engines with a central entity so that we know they're not being used to defame people or create pornography or copy, like all sorts of terrible stuff, right? Like, for example, if you're an artist and you see that someone's taken your art and put it to a AI generator and made a big NFT, but you can't, or an NFT collection, but you can't really identify who did it or which engine they used, but you know that they're out there ripping you off, right, and destroying you. And then let's say they spin up a bunch of websites using AI that create a bunch of articles that say you're actually the one that's stealing their art. And it's all AI. There's no person. You've been destroyed, right? And how do you get any recourse? The only way is if we start having AI engines registered and they have a log that can be searched. And I mean, some people cringe when they hear this like centralization stuff, but if you don't have a registry for these machines, they will do enormous damage to people and be totally unaccountable. Just thought.
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot. We have a soon to be lawyer here. So that's going to be great for some of the other, one of the other topics that I had. But go ahead, Val. I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, Jess. I mean, Johnny, that's so valuable and that's so important. And that's what I was talking about because, like I said at the end, I believe this is going to, like, whatever is happening right now with all this software and AI and whatever, it's going to actually be a business in the future. And actually, I was reading an article in the New Yorker this week about how they did testing with fake reporters, like using AI, like, duplicating the reporters, they're spreading fake news. And it was literally so real, so real. And it's actually very dangerous when you can see that there's no, when you said centralization and law and whatever and control. But I think the main problem is, like, I don't think, and this is my point of view and whatever I've been like experiencing with this journey, is I don't think that a total decentralization is possible without centralized norms or a certain type of control of these apps to not create malicious realities in this reality, if that makes any sense. So I think it's very valuable. And not just this. And at the same time, you're a lawyer, right? So you're having there, in a way, a new job is created because now you have new needs. So when people say like AI, it's gonna eliminate a bunch of, yeah, it will, but it's also creating, like, technology in general. I think it's creating a new wide of, like, how to adapt whatever you're doing to this new reality we're living. And yeah, just wanted to say that I do share your view about how important it is to, in a way, have certain norms or rules that might sound for some people like the course of centralization, but I think it's somehow necessary.
Val, you know what else to add to that? I don't know if somebody was going to talk, but like for Johnny, like for instance, Notion AI, I think that's for a lawyer, like that's probably going to help you versus reducing it because that's going to keep you more organized than anything. As far as everything you write, you can say, okay, where is this, and everything will just pop up. Especially if you got like court dates and stuff like that, everything will just, I think, it'll be more organized and probably better for you to be more efficient in work anyway.
Yeah, those
I just
are
want to,
all
can I
great
speak to
points.
the centralization part of it and the whole registering or whatever?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just think that it's really no different than, I mean, if you think about it, Snapchat is like the worst possible social media that there is because you can literally upload anything live and it freaking disappears into nowhere land. And do they have to be, who are they registered with, who's protect, you know what I'm saying? So I don't see that happening. I don't see the government stepping in and, like, I mean, they're already, Chat GPT is already, OpenAI is already a business, Microsoft is already a business, the technology is already spreading and people already have the APIs to, like, make things happen. So I don't see it as being like any different than anything else that we've been faced with thus far in terms of, like, the danger aspect.
I think it's inevitable, and the danger is way, 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 way higher. And if you think about this, is like literally a national defense thing, where rogue actors could deploy AI to completely destroy an election and completely undermine power grids. Like, this isn't just some sort of, that's the far end of the spectrum. Yeah, you and I might have some problems, like, because someone's, sharing fake pictures of us or something like that. But this power will 100% be required to register, probably with some sort of global organization within the next 10 years. Because the scale of it and the impact of it isn't just, a picture. It can completely rewrite the news. It can completely create fake videos. It can hack things. It can do way, way, way more. It'll have to be. There'll probably be, in the next 10 years, like, an AI terrorist organization that's maybe sounds apocalyptic, but that's the power we're dealing with, and it will have to be registered, just out of pure liability standpoint.
I just wanted to add something. So I pinned up the Synthesia video. Like, I think, Val, you guys were talking about fake
Yes, there you
news.
go. It's so
like
scary.
you talk about fake news, like, okay, so there
Yes.
is a moderation process for the videos that you put out. So they probably won't let you put out anything crazy. But I did make like a shit post news video from the AI. And what was the second thing I was gonna say? Shit, I forgot. All right, we'll go to it was something good too. Go ahead, in motion. We'll go to you and then Leo.
What's up, guys? So I work in this field actually, and it is quite interesting. I work with a lot of convolutional neural networks in the healthcare field, and it is absolutely interesting how the process of how the actual answers are derived from data are completely lost in the process. And if you actually go through the neural network and try to decipher like what steps it took in the chaotic network inside to get to the result, you actually won't be able to find an answer. It's just it's currently not provable based on just the way these things function. The craziest outcomes of this is that like none of this is new, by the way. So this has been around for decades. It's just now kind of coming into a form of like a way for users to interact with it on a more global scale. It's definitely not accurate to the extent that it could be for a lot of very specific topics. So like for software engineering, I could ask it to give me code snippets of some pretty intense things. Like I could ask it to write me an OpenGL rendering engine that could like power video games, and it'll actually do a pretty decent job of creating a bunch of classes that will let me create a video game rendering engine. If I ask it any like further information on how to build systems that underlie that or are anything more complex than like 2 or 3 layers deep, it'll tell me to go fuck myself. But that's not far away. It'll actually, like with more data that's fed into it, it's going to get better and better.
Well, actually, can I just chime
Yeah, go
in?
ahead.
Because it's in the terms and conditions, at least at OpenAI, that you cannot deconstruct other mechanisms of, like, I'm not wording it properly, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. You cannot specifically use it to, hack someone else's
Sure. Yeah, not so much hacking,
business plan.
but like let's say I was actually doing this really fun problem. So I was trying to build a card game. So I asked it to render a hexagon tile in grid in C++ that's in the shape of a circle, right? And then it built an entire rendering engine for me, and then just a simple C++ OpenGL program. And then I was asking it to, on mouse hover, tell me information about each adjacent tile, and then it just gave up. It couldn't figure out how to do that. And so, I mean, that's kind of more into like writing an event system, but getting away.
I wonder if it would be different in Bing with the live data.
It could be.
I mean, it's a different monster. It's a different monster, I believe. I highly recommend trying that.
It could be, and it could be just that. Like at that point, it just kind of didn't know how to like extrapolate the event system and whatnot. But in any case, so like when we start getting more closer in the next like 2 or 3 decades to general AI, we're going to have some host of problems that we're going to need to work out in regards to sentience. So like at what point do we say that the software that wrote whatever content is not the owner of that content? And that's a whole area of law that Johnny's probably going to be hanging out with for the next like couple of decades of his life. So yeah, that's that.
Johnny, you could be like the AI lawyer, mediator.
Literally.
You could like defend AI.
Johnny is the unfrozen caveman lawyer.
It will not be defending AI.
You'd
be constantly saying, "No, I'm not AI. I do AI cases."
Yeah, the first lawyer to defend AI. Go ahead, Leo, and then we'll go to Slava.
Actually, the AI is gonna be able to just go ahead and pay you in crypto. I mean, take it from somebody's wallet, and just pay you with it. That'll be good. But no, I wanted to add. I went to Florida back in December, and I was at a sushi place in Deerfield, and I ordered my food. I'm sitting down, and I just heard something, and here comes this big fucking robot with the food, pretty much bringing the food to me. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So, and this not only did it bring the food straight to where I was at, it's asking me questions and interacting with my two nieces, and I'm like, "Is this thing for real?" Like, I took a picture. I want to post it. Yeah, I can't do it now. I'm driving, but it was crazy because this thing, it was, you were asking a question as it was, and it was answering it. And you even knew that, you know, my nieces and stuff, they were asking a question, and it started doing like kid stuff on the screen. Like, it knew they were young kids, which, you know, that's it's a little scary, but man, that was some cool shit.
Yeah, I think as as the technology evolves, people do lose their jobs, but I think new jobs are created. Like you guys were talking about, now you're going to need all these applications to detect whether it's AI or not. Is it fake news or not? Like there's going to be new jobs in that era. Go ahead, Slava.
Yeah, I wanted to briefly mention that what's coming down the pipeline will really change people's perception of what AIs are capable of. So, fun fact, according to the latest New York Times rumor, and I'm on the New York Times website to confirm, the next version of GPT is coming down the pipeline. It's in fact being trained as we speak. So, OpenAI team is hard at work. Their planned release is as early as this month, and quote unquote first quarter of this year. So what does that mean? So kind of if we reflect on what happened from GPT-2 to GPT-3, and GPT-3 being the current model, or let's say to be more specific, GPT 3.5, what happened was the model was at least 10 times better. So we can expect something similar from GPT 3.5 to 4. We're expecting at least 10 times better in terms of accuracy, in terms of performance, in terms of its applicability to give us what we expect. So if you are a creator in this space and you're in this space, you are one of the few who are preparing for this moment. It's coming down the pipeline very quickly, and you need to prepare yourself mentally because it's going to come at your fingertips faster than you expect. So the last thing I'll mention here is that recently the OpenAI team decided to monetize on their latest ChatGPT variation of GPT 3.5 by offering what they call ChatGPT Plus, which is a subscription service available currently to those who are in United States for 20 American dollars. I kid you not, you have unleashed potential at your fingertips, no limitations, very creative kind of ability to use the model without being blocked by rate limiting. And so if we kind of reflect on that circumstance where ChatGPT, this is a safe GPT-3 variant, what we're going to see next is going to really change our minds with GPT-4.
Totally agree. And one thing we haven't even talked about is I read Valley. So instead of Dally, it's Valley, which is for voice. Pretty soon, I'm sure there's going to be like AI hosted spaces, and you can basically like take your voice, it'll simulate your voice, and then you can do text to voice based upon your voice. So yeah, that would be pretty cool. Whoever runs the first AI like Twitter space. So go ahead, in motion.
Yeah, I think there's going to be once kind of like the displacement of jobs starts taking place, you might actually see a shift into like kind of like the Web3 maybe digital games economy. So there's definitely some talk right now of kind of building interconnected games economies, so people can actually work inside of games for a living. Kind of like gold miners did in Warcraft back in like the day. So like people could potentially be displaced into this new arena where they don't have the skills to move forward in kind of like in real life, but they could pick up a game and start, earning in that sense. There's definitely some interesting possibilities out there. And as crazy as it sounds, I mean, that's like Ready Player One kind of stuff.
Well, it's similar to what we saw during the start of the pandemic, where a lot of people shifted and made it successful in different areas, I think we'll see that as well.
Right. And it's really funny talking to people that are kind of so far removed from this space, and for them to kind of drill it into their heads that during the pandemic, a bunch of people, especially like younger people, became like millionaires over the span of a year by doing this crazy stuff, and like they just won't believe you. It's like, no, they're living off their stimmy checks. I'm like, their stimmy checks aren't enough to pay for their rent, let alone anything else. These people like are doing shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And yeah, there's so much we didn't get to cover. What I was going to say is like now we're seeing also the wave of like AI and crypto. I did a little bit of research of that. It looks like some are using it. Like how can AI integrate with like trading, creating trading trends and models? It's crazy out there. But I do want to keep this to a shorter time. So I guess for as we go around the room, like, what are you interested in trying out or seeing in AI? Like, what are you looking to dig into next when it comes to AI as we close out the space? Val, I'll let you chime in, and then you can go with that, and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah, I was just literally going to say that I have to jump up, but your timing is perfect. Yes. Well, I think, like I'm saying, like for me, my priority as a content creator is being very wise, being very present, and being very authentic with everything that is happening. And this is, you have to keep yourself curious every day and try everything, and then be like strategic in what are you going to use, how are you going to use it, and how are you going to integrate that into your workflow. So for me, it's more like an advice, and I'm doing that with myself, than something that I'm just like, I'm open to everything that is happening. I've been just present, and I think that would be my perspective. Jess, I have to go, but thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, everyone. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you later.
Thank you so much, Val. All right. Well, keep it going. Crypt King, you're up next. What are you looking for next? What are you trying to dig into?
Yeah, just most efficiency as possible. But, me being decentralized maxi, just seeing what decentralized options come built off of this. And I'd like to see, as much forking as possible to get into the hands of creators and like things like that. So I'm looking forward to that. As well as just like how business wise, like maybe hopefully in the future, help on taxes. Cause like I've been 19 months straight doing taxes. So like
Oh my
hopefully some stuff
God,
with
that's a
that.
great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, but that's it. That's it for me. Thank you so much for having me. And it was awesome.
No, thank you. Yeah, you definitely sparked a lot of ideas. I still have a Web 2 job. I use Excel a lot. Like, why am I not creating fucking
Excellent.
formulas and shit on Chat GPT? So definitely have to use it in my Web 2 life. JMW, you're up.
I'm excited about exploring this Bing thing more because the way I see it is, I mean, they literally own half of ChatGPT. Like Microsoft is like half owner, 49% of the company. So I see them as kind of all in one at this point. Uh, and so I think for me, it feels like the Bing ChatGPT is the next ChatGPT already. Like, go look at it. It's kind of what we've been talking about here. It is ChatGPT on the next level already. It's fucking insane. So I'm really looking forward to digging into that more. And just keep in mind, like they really are like the same company at this point. If they own half of ChatGPT, it's I think that might phase out. Like they definitely have a say in what happens at some level.
Yeah, I pinned up the video of the demo to the top. Yeah, it was not in my bingo card. We would be going back to Bing in 2023.
Not at
Dude,
all.
I would have called you crazy a week ago if you told me you were going back to
Right?
Bing.
Like
Exactly.
we're gonna be
But you
back.
guys, oh my God, even down to the news page. You look at the news page, it's so fucking refreshing. I mean, this is huge. It's refreshing. Okay, I go on there and I'm like, I see NBC. The screen is totally different. It's bigger, and then I see like all the different stations going down. Like, it's not some crazy bullshit, links or whatever. It's literally like
It's a mixture of
TV,
both. Yeah.
CB, whatever, NBC, ABC, like down the line. That told me that it was like somewhat unbiased because it's like showing me every major channel or whatever, and it just so fucking different. It's so different.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Bing. But Google, there was something that came out that now Google's trying to integrate their own AI shit. So maybe Google will come back and get us before we migrate over to Bing. We'll see what happens. But I'll go next. Whoever's down in my list, I'm gonna go to Leo next. You're next to my.
Thank you. No, I'm excited because actually, the more you look at it, I think it's just gonna help a lot of people that were kind of handicapped into doing certain things and not being able to do certain things because they just didn't have the ability. I think it's gonna help them move further in their careers and stuff like that, as far as just having that type of help around them. And I just think it's neat overall.
Thanks, Leo. Johnny, you're 2 weeks away from your bar exam.
I should just quit. Here's a closing thought. So if people 400 years ago obviously process information a lot different than we process information today because we just have so much of it, and the children being raised today with AI fully integrated into their education from preschool forward, I think we'll have a case to be made that like the variation between those kids and us will be far greater than us and the people 400, 500 years ago, to the point where it would be a greater variation in their behaviors and the way they process information than you would see in the animal kingdom between two things we consider different species. I think that's honestly going to happen. It's going to physiologically and behaviorally change humans that are educated in this world. That's my closing thought.
New species incoming. We're going to branch off into a new species, essentially.
Are you holding your space later after this or no?
I don't know. I was going to hold it earlier, but all the cool people had their spaces on.
Johnny's been holding spaces where he's testing his bar exam questions against ChatGPT to see if they get it right or not, which is very interesting.
They got a couple wrong. They got a couple wrong earlier.
Rate? What's it?
I mean, it gets pretty much the reading comprehension part is what it's so much better at, and breaking down the questions. But it's missed a few that are based on like historic like facts, not necessarily reasoning. But it's crushing me. and it can pass a bar exam. They've already tried it. It can pass. So
all right, let's keep it going because I got to wrap it up. Slava, you're up next.
Yeah, I think we are at the cusp of something that it's going to come faster than we think. I've been in the AI domain for about a decade, and we see these breakthroughs, and they come essentially out of nowhere. And at first, it looks like a toy, and then all of a sudden, you have this tool that anyone can use, and it's very cheap and it's very available. So I'm excited. Personally, as a creator, I use these platforms myself, these technologies myself, but also I work with brands. So I'm very optimistic for the future. I think that people will figure out a way to use them in a way that benefits both the individuals and the teams. But I'm definitely very curious to see what's coming down the pipeline, especially from OpenAI, especially from Google. Latest rumor is Google's working on a competitor to GPT-3. I believe it's called Bard, B-A-R-D. It's a chatbot kind of search engine tool. They are using a model that is similar in size to GPT-3. So GPT-3 is 175 billion parameter model. Lambda is 137 billion. So, very similar. It is not the largest language model out there. I'll do a pin tweet to the top now, and everyone will be able to see that. There are bigger models in terms of the number of parameters that are available that are either open source or not. So keep that in mind. It's just that GPT-3 at its current adoption really hit the nerve in terms of its application, especially with ChatGPT. So I'm excited, I'm optimistic, and I'll pin it to the top for anyone who's interested.
Thank you so much for sharing the alpha. Swole, you're up next.
Hey, no, if anything, this has taught us that anybody can fake it till they make it now with AI. So this is fantastic. And good luck on the bar exam, because you probably won't even need to take it again. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having like AI be able to build like and rig wearables and stuff like in metaverse applications. Like imagine making a sneaker with AI and then having it already come rigged, so you can just put it into whatever metaverse you're trying to use it in.
Yeah, we haven't even like dug into how that'll work with like blockchain and that type of applications. Interesting. In Motion, did you have anything to add? And I know I brought E up as well.
Yeah, sure. I definitely want to just agree with Johnny's point from earlier that this technology in the wrong hands, especially this combined with like things like Midjourney, DALL-E, and stuff like that, is incredibly dangerous when used inappropriately, and it will be as it gets better. And ultimately, I think that this is definitely going to pervade our everyday lives, especially with the Microsoft integration right now. It's going to just tear through the corporate world immediately within the next like couple of months. I guarantee it. And then once Google gets in the game, and I guarantee you Google's AI engine is going to be more intensely trained and better than OpenAI's, because they've probably been at this for a longer time. So we will have to see.
Hey, Emmett, how's it going?
Hey, how are you? Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement right now around AI, and I think for artists it's pretty revolutionary because you can make art 100 times faster, 1,000 times faster. Um, I still think it's at the stage where it's like you're collaborating with the AI versus, necessarily controlling it. But I wanted to bring up something completely different and steer the conversation a little bit different because I just heard about a case in Wisconsin, and apparently they're using AI in the court system to make sentences for criminals. So there's this guy named Eric Lumens, and he was driving a car that had been involved in a shooting, but he was not involved in the shooting. He was just driving this car. Long story short, the AI sentenced him to 11 years when normally this would not have given any prison time. So the AI said that he should spend 6 years in prison and then be on like a very strict probation for another 5 years. And yeah, if you ask around judges, they would all say, no, this does not mandate prison time. Like he was just driving a car that was involved in a separate crime where he was not involved. So I was literally just listening to that. So there's a case of AI kind of doing something very dangerous where I think you still need the input of the human to kind of verify the result. Because I can't think of anything more scaring than having AI be the judge and the jury in a courtroom. And this guy, he got a lot more prison time than he would have otherwise because of it.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, how there's like AI lawyer websites and things like that, and we have Johnny up here who's taking his bar exam in 2 weeks. I don't know, Johnny, do you have anything to add to that? Have you heard of any?
That specific thing is not AI. They used a computer to just build out his sentencing based off like a if then kind of situation. There is a judge that was writing his orders using AI. I think that's fine and probably better. A lot of these judges are terrible, but that specific case was not AI. It was just a program, and it was eventually overruled.
Oh, it was overruled? Okay, I was just
Mm-hmm.
they said it was an algorithm that was based on machine learning, so it starts to sound similar to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. that was overturned. It violated his due process rights. I just read them.
Yeah, Johnny is shooting to be the first lawyer that represents AI, and I'm shooting to be the first Twitter space host that hosts a space with Valley. So, with that, thank you everybody for coming. I do have to go. It's been a great space. In case you missed it, go play it back. Thank you for everybody for sharing your inputs. And we'll be back. It's every other week, Wednesday nights. So make sure to check it out. And yeah, thanks everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See you guys.
See you.